"Get your hands off my wife." That's all I could shout before everything turned into chaos. Two men dressed like police officers were dragging my wife, in broad daylight, off our own front porch. Their badges looked real, their tone was aggressive, and the neighbors just stood there frozen. But here's what they didn't know. My wife, Lena, wasn't just any woman. She was a CIA operative, and she had backup waiting around the corner. And those fake HOA cops? They were about to regret every single decision that led them to our door. I'm Jason Reed, a software developer who moved with my wife, Lena, to the quiet suburb of Greenleaf Estates, a so-called exclusive neighborhood run by an HOA that acted like they owned everyone. When we bought our house, it seemed peaceful. Nice lawns, quiet streets, kids playing on sidewalks. But that illusion faded fast. The HOA here wasn't about keeping the neighborhood nice, it was about power. Especially for one man, Bradley Huxley, the HOA president. A smug ex-security guard who took his title way too seriously. He walked around with a fake badge, wrote tickets for small things, and even had his own HOA patrol. Basically a couple of guys who wore uniforms that looked suspiciously like real police gear. Lena spotted it right away. "These people are on a power trip," she whispered to me one night. "Mark my words, this HOA is going to cross a line." I didn't think much of it. I should have listened. It started small. First, they fined us for leaving the trash bins out too long. Then, they claimed our security cameras weren't approved by the HOA. Lena calmly filed an appeal, but Bradley responded with a smirk, saying, "Rules are rules. Maybe this neighborhood isn't the right fit for your type." We both knew what he meant. Lena's mixed background had already made her the target of subtle comments. Then one evening, while we were grilling in the backyard, Lena noticed something odd. A black SUV parked a few houses down, engine running, two men inside. "HOA patrol," I said. But she shook her head. "Those aren't just neighbors checking on lawn lengths. They're watching." She was right. A week later, Lena attended the HOA meeting to question the fines. I went with her. The meeting was tense. Bradley sitting at the head of the table with his fake badge clipped to his belt, trying to look important. Lena presented her case clearly, politely, but firmly. "There's nothing in the bylaws about outdoor cameras. You can't fine us for that." Bradley smirked. "You people think rules don't apply to you?" Lena leaned forward. "You people? Care to explain that?" The room went silent. Bradley waved his hand dismissively. "You're dismissed, Mrs. Reed. Maybe your husband should handle things from now on." That's when I stood up. "You're out of line, Bradley." He grinned. "Maybe. But I make the rules here." As we left, Lena muttered under her breath, "Not for long." Over the next few days, Lena seemed busier than usual. She made quiet phone calls, took late-night walks, and installed a small device near our doorbell. When I asked what she was doing, she just said, "Let's call it insurance." Then, one morning, a letter arrived taped to our front door. "Notice of termination of residency. Due to repeated violations and hostile behavior, you are hereby ordered to vacate within 48 hours or face removal by HOA security." Removal? By HOA security? That wasn't even legal. I called the police, but before they could respond, things exploded. It was Saturday morning. I was in the garage working when I heard shouting from the porch. "Ma'am, step away from the door. You're under HOA enforcement orders." I rushed out and saw two men in dark uniforms, badges on their chests, tactical belts, radios, even handcuffs. They looked like police, but something felt off. Lena stood on the porch, calm as a statue. "You boys sure you want to do this?" she asked evenly. One of them barked, "You're trespassing on HOA property. You're coming with us." I yelled, "This is our house." But before I could move, they grabbed Lena by the arms and started dragging her down the steps. That's when she smiled. Not fear. Not anger. Just confidence. And then I heard her whisper, "Now." From seemingly nowhere, Two unmarked SUVs rolled up. Doors flew open, and real agents stepped out, armed and wearing tactical vests. Federal agents. Drop your weapons. The fake HOA cops froze. Their fake badges suddenly meant nothing. In seconds, they were disarmed, handcuffed, and face down on the grass. Lena straightened her jacket and looked over at Bradley, who had been standing at the corner, watching everything unfold with a horrified expression. "Bradley," she called out, "you might want to stay right there." The lead agent approached her. "Ma'am, operation complete. Local law enforcement en route." I stood there, completely stunned. "Lena, what just happened?" She turned to me, smiling slightly. "Told you I had insurance." Turns out, Lena had been undercover before she retired from the CIA, specializing in domestic fraud and identity operations. When she saw the HOA's behavior, she ran a quick background check and discovered that Bradley and his patrol weren't just power-hungry neighbors. They were running a fraud scheme, posing as a legitimate HOA to collect fake fines and enforcement fees. The two men who attacked her were imposters, using fake badges ordered online and rented uniforms to intimidate homeowners. Lena had contacted her old agency contacts for advice. They helped coordinate a sting with local and federal law enforcement, just waiting for the fake officers to make their move. And when they did, the trap closed. The arrests made the evening news. Fake HOA cops arrested in suburban fraud scheme, CIA operative among victims. Bradley was charged with multiple counts of impersonation, fraud, and unlawful detention. His little HOA empire collapsed overnight. The real homeowners discovered that Bradley had been pocketing their monthly dues, faking repairs, and paying his buddies under the table. As for Lena, she was hailed as a hero. Reporters camped outside for interviews, but she refused them all. "I just did what needed to be done," she said. Weeks later, things were finally peaceful again. We sat on our porch, and watched the sunset. The fake patrol signs were gone, the HOA dissolved, and the neighborhood was rebuilding under new, legitimate leadership. I turned to her and said, "You could have told me you were setting up a sting operation." She smiled. "Where's the fun in that?" Then she looked out at the street. "You know what the problem with power is, Jason?" "What?" I asked. "People think it gives them control. But real control comes from knowing exactly when to act, and when to let others expose themselves." She sipped her tea. Bradley and his boys thought they had control. Turns out, they were just bait. The moral of the story? Some people mistake fear for respect. They wear badges, hold clipboards, or wave rules in your face just to feel powerful. But fake authority always collapses under real truth. If someone threatens you with lies or intimidation, don't fight fire with fire. Do what Lena did. Stay calm, stay smart, and let justice do the talking. Because sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the most dangerous one of all. Months later, one evening, Lena's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen, then at me. "Old agency contact," she said softly. "You going back in?" I asked. She smiled mysteriously. "Let's just say, some people never really retire." And as she walked out to take the call, I couldn't help but laugh. The fake cops thought they could bully us off our porch. But they had no idea they were messing with a woman who trained people like them for breakfast. So, what do you think about this story? The fake HOA cops thought they had power, until they met someone who actually knew what real authority looked like. If you enjoyed this crazy twist of karma, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below what you would have done if someone tried to drag your loved one off your porch. Until next time, stay calm, stay aware, and never underestimate the quiet ones.